Iron is the most important mid-tier resource in the game, and you will need to get tons and tons of it. You will also need lots of nails to craft many of the same things. So in this video, I will show you the most efficient way to get both of those items. If you have not yet finished your workbench and are in need of nails, then this video is not the one you are looking for. Rather, you should check out my video covering the most efficient way to get TPL, which covers getting nails before building your workbench. That being said, you will want to watch the end of this video where I give tips on how to make your nails last longer. For this process, you will want to choose Healer 1 or higher for your class, equip a spear, a staff of support, some type of food or healing item, tier 1 armor, and 5 pickaxes. You can of course do iron farming with less resources than these, but it is actually less efficient. For example, building a full set of tier 1 armor costs you almost nothing, but provides 4% extra movement speed and almost 30% damage reduction. Since farming iron efficiently requires farming in PvP zones, this extra movement speed and damage reduction will save your life countless of times, thus preserving the iron that you have already farmed, which will far outweigh the cost of materials needed to craft tier 1 armor. Not to mention that you're not going to actually use that much of the durability of your armor. Likewise, you could easily gather the resources for pickaxes in the zones you are farming iron, but the extra time spent to make those pickaxes while you are in the zone will increase your chances of dying by enough that it is more efficient to craft them before you travel to the zone. So once you have all of this gear, travel to Garm's Fang and then enter the team zone. You might find it strange that I am recommending the team zone even though this tutorial is not team oriented, but this is because even if you are a solo player, the team zone is significantly better. In addition to having 50 to 60% more iron in a team zone, the zone itself is bigger, giving more room for the enemies and iron deposits of that zone to spread out. This results in a significantly higher number of unguarded iron deposits around the edge of the map, which are the key to getting lots and lots of iron. As you travel around the edge of the map gathering these iron deposits, you may have to kill a few enemies with your spear. When this happens, make sure to use your food to keep your HP bar full. If you run into any giants, just farm the iron around them while kiting them. At any point during this process, if you see a red player approach you, immediately run to the cloud. You don't have to leave, but it is important to immediately run to the cloud to make sure. As your opponent approaches, keep running away from them in the cloud to assess whether or not they are a threat. If they are weak enough that you can kill them, then go ahead and do it. If they don't run away while you are winning, or if after you kill them nothing shows up in the chat, then they are a bot, and often bots have a significant amount of iron on them. This one didn't, but many of them do. So it's worth killing them if you can. But if it's a long drawn out fight or the player runs away, then they are not a bot and it's not really worth pursuing them. If the opponent attacking you is clearly stronger than you, then it is extremely important that you never attack them. Any aggressive action towards a player will change the countdown timer from 5 seconds to 15 seconds. So when you see an opponent that is stronger than you, simply activate both of your skills and then do nothing. Even if you are only level 10, as long as you kept your health topped off and you have a full set of level 1 armor, your opponent now has to get to you and do 273 damage in just 5 seconds to kill you. This is extremely unlikely even if you are being chased by a team. In fact, in all my experiences with this, I have never been killed in this situation. Rather, when I'm killed using this tactic, it is usually because I was bullied or stunned before I got to the cloud. If you ever find yourself too far into the map when you run into an enemy, then it is usually better to run through the mobs to the cloud on the other side of the map than it is to run to the nearest cloud. Getting stunned by players or by mobs does not affect the 5-second cooldown, so do not freak out and move or go into your inventory because those will reset the countdown. After you finish farming the outer iron deposits in Garm's Fang, then go to Desperate Foothills and do the same thing there. If on rare occasions everyone and their mother is farming iron that day, then you might run into some zones that have all the iron has already been farmed. In this case, you can enter the solo zone while you're waiting for the team zones to reset. Once you use your 5 pickaxes, go home and put your iron ore away. I know it's impressive to see people with entire inventories full of iron ore, but it is not the most efficient way. Anything less than 3 pickaxes is wasting time, and anything above 5 pickaxes unnecessarily risks the iron that you have already farmed. Once you have used this method to farm tons and tons of iron, you need to shift your mindset into how to keep and use that iron well. The best way to keep iron, like if you are going to use it but you don't have a place to use it for now, is to make sure it is in your workbenches. You can keep iron bars and nails in your workbenches if you're not actively using them. You can keep tons of iron and nails in your engineering tables. You can store up to 80 iron in your advanced smelter. And of course, you can keep iron in your normal smelters as well. You just have to keep it in there after it's been refined. As long as you keep these items in those workbenches, no one can ever steal them from you. This is incredibly valuable, so make sure to store your iron and nails in those places when you are not actively using them. When you are using them, the best thing to use iron and nails on is level 2 tools, strong hatchets and strong pickaxes. They require a lot of iron and a lot of nails, but they are the key to getting advanced resources, and the strong pickaxe is the key to getting points at Odin's because each strong pickaxe can give you 30 points. The next most important thing to use your iron and nails on is upgrading your level 1 chest to level 2 chest. This also requires quite a bit of iron and nails. By upgrading your chest from level 1 to level 2, you are forcing your opponent to, instead of using level 1 lockpicks, which require iron to make, you are forcing them to use level 2 lockpicks, which require copper to make. This makes your stuff a lot more safe, so my recommendation is to try to make sure that every chest in your entire base is a level 2 chest. The next best category to spend your iron and nails on is on your district levels. The research team does not have the exact numbers yet, but it looks like each player is going to need almost 1,000 iron to be able to upgrade their district all the way to 186. Now, I know that is a ridiculous amount of iron, and you may be thinking that you don't want to put on district levels, but district levels are a huge game changer in this game, and no one can take that iron from you. So I would recommend putting it in district levels if you've already have enough for the other things I've talked about. After that, there's a lot of things that you should and shouldn't spend your iron and nails on. Raiders hatchets is a great thing to spend your iron in, as is bows. These items are relatively cheap and they give you a lot of benefit. Same thing with basic pick locks. That being said, raiding with Raiders hatchets and basic lockpicks will on average net you less iron than you end up spending, but you do get a lot of other really good things when you raid, and so I would recommend doing it. Any workbench like the engineering table, the stone cutter table, building your workbenches are permanently improving your base. Spend those whenever you need iron or nails to build those items. Make sure to go ahead and do it. Then we get into some green armors that require a lot of iron to make, and I would not recommend spending your iron on those items. If you really have a purpose in which you need green items, then maybe there is a use for it, but most of the time you should either stick with level 1 gear for doing PvE stuff, or you should just use the gear that you've gotten in loot chests of either Odin's or Tombs, which is sometimes green, sometimes blue, sometimes purple, using mostly those things for PvP. Again, most of the time in PvE, you're just going to be using level 1 gear because it still reduces damage by 30%. The ritual dagger is not usually worth it, but there are situations where a rogue will use one of these and it saves them a lot of time, and so sometimes you can use your iron for it. The strong sword and shield is a good thing to use your iron for because it is a good source of points if you have the glue. And then the bone mace and shovel are also good uses for nails and iron, but only in situations in which you are building a green weapon to accomplish a certain task. And most of the time, a lot of advanced players are just starting to use spears on all of the challenges of Frostborn. The helm, cannonball, buckshot, and chain shot have no purpose in the game yet. Don't spend your time making these items. It is a waste of iron. currently. That being said, they are personal items, so if you have an abundance of iron left over and you don't have room to store it somewhere, then you might as well make a few of them because they can't get stolen from your base. And then the couch doesn't really have any purpose in the game, but the iron is very inexpensive compared to the maple used to build this item. Well, that's it guys. Hope that helps. If you still have any questions, make sure to check out the gameplay channel. Those videos are longer, but I show you exactly how I do everything in the game. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.